Hello everybody, we are back again with another deck profile. Alright, so we are looking at Imperialdramon today, the lovely blue-green deck. So it's a pretty fun deck to play, but we're going to get started with our little eggies. So starting with, we're running 4 eggs. In this case, it's our ultimate Cup Digimon. The inheritable itself, of course, allowing you to get, so long as this Digimon has jamming, you can draw one. Straightforward baby that we work with. Moving into our level 3s, we're running 4 Vmon as our first kind of little look at here, which as long as you have, if this Digimon is Digivolving into a card with 3 in its traits, and if you have a Tamer, you can reduce the Digi-Evolution cost by 1. So pretty useful to get a slightly cheaper Digi-Evolution going. As well, of course, is when you have 2 or more colors with the inheritable, you can draw 1. So usually because this is going to show up more earlier than later, you're probably going to be looking at this more for the inheritable of the drawing 1. But it is nice to have that little reduced Digi-Evolution cost when needed for later on. We're running one of the EX-1 Digimon for its inheritable, of course, is when it just becomes unsuspended. During your main phase, you can gain 1 memory, so it helps you kind of pull back your memory gauge and get some extra memory there, which is good. Then we move into our sort of searcher cards. Vmon being the BT-12 version, allowing you to search and reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and adding a card with Imperialdramon in its name, or anything with the free traits, and the keyword is "and" here, and 1 card that is Davis to your hand. So if you do pull out that Imperialdramon and you do pull out a Davis in the search of the top 3 cards of your deck, you get both of them, which is awesome. So it's very cool. That's helped you to kind of search through. And then of course the inheritable, which is pretty neat too, which is this Digimon and one of your other Digimons can DNA into whatever Digimon you're trying to go into for the cost. So it's pretty easy to have that kind of free at the end of turn DNA Digivolve and not have to worry so much. So it's pretty good. Then of course, same sort of token, but on our second color of the deck is our, of course, Wormamons or Wormmon. This again, same sort of idea, except instead of adding the Tamer that is Davis, you're going to be adding the Tamer that is Ken. So basically does the same effect as the Vmon, except with green. So it's pretty cool to see that there, and same inheritable as well. So usually having either of these as kind of your flex searchers, pretty good, and obviously their play cost is pretty cheap for 3. Our level 4s, you're going to be looking at X-Vmon here. This is just your jamming X-Vmon, so kind of helping you build from your Demi-V and getting that jamming requirement there for you. Of course, with the inheritable being, if you have Imperialdramon or free, you can get that jamming. So again, you're kind of building up the deck to be able to swing without worrying about consequences from your opponent with jamming there. We're running 1 XV from BT-12, which is your when this Digimon will DNA Digivolve into a green Digimon, you can gain 1 memory. So that's when we start getting into our level 5s with our DNA. It becomes pretty useful. And then of course, again, the Imperialdramon or free trait, gaining jamming and building from there. Stingmon, we're running 4 of the ST9 ones. So this effectively is when you would play this card from your hand. If you have a blue Digimon, you can reduce the play cost, by 1. So it's pretty useful if you have, for example, like XV on the field and you need to get that Stingmon out and then trigger the DNA Digivolve. It's pretty useful to have. And the inheritable, of course, is if you have a blue Digimon in play, draw 1. So once you start getting into especially those 2-colored Digimons, or even if you have like single solid colors, you get that draw 1, which is always good to have too. Then we are running the other Stingmons here, which are effectively kind of the same token as your XVmon. of when this will DNA digivolve into a blue Digimon, gain a memory. So if you're digivolving with these two together, you're gonna be gaining at least 2 memory easily, which is pretty nice. And this Stingmon, of course, gives you the advantage of piercing, as long as you have Imperial or Free Trait. So always nice to have. Lanamon, we're running just one, again, serving as your hybrid for kind of those quick type plays if you need to use it for hybrid. You can also use it for when digivolving and get that level 3 Digimon underneath it, and gain that jamming, and that applies to the hybrid effect as well. And then we move into our DNA stuff, which is all the good stuff. Start with these ones here. We've got our ST9. We're running 4 Imperialdramons. Right, this is where we start to get into our lovely DNA stuff. So you're going to be wanting to DNA into these as often as you can, with the requirements being a green level 4 and a blue level 4. And then you can get the effects of the when DNA digivolving and returning your opponent's Digimon that has 6,000 DP or less to the bottom of the deck. So not back to their hand, but back to the deck, which is pretty good, and it prevents them from, having the piece to be able to replay it. They actually have to kind of get something back into their building. And then, of course, you've got when attacking, once per turn, you can unsuspend this Digimon, meaning that you can swing and unsuspend if you survive. So always good to have that Imperialdramon there. The other Imperialdramon we're running is the BT-12 one. We're only running 2 of these. Again, you want to DNA into these, but this one also has the kind of the first part of it you don't have to DNA into, but the second part you do. So with just the regular Digivolving or DNA Digivolving, you can trash the top 3 Digi-evolutions of your opponent's Digimon. So, and that's whatever Digimon you want. So if they have a level 6 or a level 7, you can trash the top 3 Digi-evolution cards, and it can really mess with your opponent, and they have to kind of rebuild. But the second portion, of course, is only specific to the DNA itself. So as long as your DNA Digivolving 2 of your opponent's Digimons, as long as they don't have any Digi-evolution cards, they can't attack until your opponent's next turn, which means that they're not attacking on their turn. So it's pretty good to have, pretty good to use. You do want to try to DNA into this to get that second trigger of the DNA effect to go through. But if you are in a pinch and you don't have that DNA ability, you can always use the first half of this effect and kind of slow your opponent down there, which is pretty good. Then our final set of level 5s, we are running the Gabumons. Again, trying to DNA into this. This one is specific to DNA Digivolving, so you do want to DNA into this to get the Digivolving effect, which allows you to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then this gets plus 3,000 for the turn. And it can attack an opponent's Digimon. So it's pretty good for the aggression if you're trying to attack your opponent quickly. And then, of course, with these and having the inheritables underneath, this one allows you specifically to trash your opponent's security stack, so long as you have Imperialdramon or free in its traits. So as long as it deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, then you get to trash the top of the security stack. So this one's really good to have under there as well. I did forget to mention, but Imperialdramon essentially gets you a memory. I know I forgot to say that, but it is pretty good. And then the other Imperialdramon doesn't have any inheritables to work with. So then we go into our Imperialdramon options that we have. We have a lot of variety here, you're going to see, between all of the Imperialdramons that do exist that we have today. So we are running 2 Dragon Mode Imperialdramons. You can Digivolve for a Digivolve cost of 3 from Imperialdramon or Dino B, which, as you can see, we're running quite a half few of them. So that is always good. And then, of course, if this has blue in its Digi-evolution, you can unsuspend it. And if it has green, you can suspend your opponent's Digimon, which is great. At the end of this, once it attacks, it can Digivolve into another Imperialdramon from your hand for the Digi-evolution cost. And when it would Digivolve, you can reduce it by 2. So you can literally go into one Imperial into another for a nice, lovely reduced cost, which we love to see. So it's always good. With that, we also have our now ace mode, which is pretty good. So this allows you to counter on your opponent's turn. So we love that, and we love the ace, kind of allowing us to be able to do something on our opponent's turn to allow us to kind of prevent stuff or stall stuff too. So with this boss Digivolve is you can suspend one Digimon and unsuspend one Digimon. So you can really kind of stop your opponent from getting extra swings. And you can unsuspend maybe even one of your Digimon to help protect you a bit longer. And then of course your all turns once per turn. If this Digimon becomes suspended, you can play a Tamer card or one Digimon that has 4,000 or less without paying. So it's pretty nice to have. The Overflow 4 is sometimes you can get a little bit nervous with that, but it's much harder for opponents to get rid of higher leveled Digimon versus lower leveled. So you kind of have that extra buffer if you need. And then of course we have lastly for our level 6s, we have our fighter mode. This is the really hefty card. Even the font is tiny on it because they wrote so much. But you can suspend all of your opponent's Digimon that don't have any Digi-evolutions underneath them. And you can return one of them to your owner's hand. And when you return a Dragon mode from the Digi-evolution back to your hand, all of your opponent's suspended Digimon go to the bottom of the owner's decks instead. So it's pretty busted when you have the Dragon modes sitting underneath this, having a good time. You're probably going to be less likely to pull out your ace because that's going to give you your overflow, but your other Dragon mode is fair game. Then of course you've got your all turns effect, so you are gaining that blocker plus the 1,000 for each of the Digi colors that are in its trait, effectively giving you should be having your Dino V or your Imperialdramons in there. You're probably going to get like plus 2,000 automatically. And then of course, if you have 2 or more colors, you get that security plus 1 blocker. So it becomes a pretty hefty card that your opponent's going to have to deal with there. We're not running any level 7s in this. Mainly because it's hard to fit things in, especially in DNA decks. It's hard to find where you want to put things. So right now we're not running any level 7s, but hopefully more support will come in the next few box releases or further. For Tamers, of course, we are running our Davis, Memory Setter Davis, and Searcher. This allows us to add our 1 blue and 1 green Digimon card among them to our hand. So effectively allowing you to get the pieces that you need when you need them for a play cost of 4. On the other hand, we're also running Davis and Ken. Useful for gaining memory pretty quick. So long as you have a blue Digimon in play, you'll gain memory. And if you have a green Digimon in play, you'll also be gaining a memory. Pretty useful. And then of course, when a Digimon digivolves into something with 2 or more colors, you can suspend this to unsuspend that Digimon. So if you've swung, you can digivolve or DNA even though the DNA will expand it, but digivolve, suspend, and you will unsuspend your Digimon effectively. Then we have our other Davis here, so this is kind of playing more off of the gaining memory from either if you have Ken on the field or if you just have a Digimon free trait on it. And then on your turn, when one of your 2 colored blue and green Digimon attack, you can suspend the Tamer to digivolve into Imperialdramon for the cost. So it's another quick way to be able to get your Imperialdramon out as fast as you can. And then for our options, we're running 2 Megadeaths. This allows you to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and return a suspended Digimon to your owner's hand. Kind of like a chaos degradation in a very weird way if we're kind of comparing it to that. But it does have a couple extra steps. So let's say that your opponent already has a suspended Digimon on the field that you want to get rid of. You can get rid of that and just suspend a different Digimon. And of course, the security being the main effect, you get to do that regardless of whether you hard play this for a cost of 5 or if you actually get it from the security. The other option card that we are running is, of course, our Ice Wall, which allows all of your opponent's Digimon to gain 1 attacking, lose 2 memory. Very, very good card, especially if you're trying to get turn back. It's nice to know that if your opponent tries to attack you on the turn, they're going to be losing 2 memory. So very good on its memory gain for you. And of course, when you're in security, if your opponent hits it and they're close to passing turn, you gain 2 memory, and it can, all too often does it bring you back into your turn, which is nice. And the final option card, which I don't think this deck would have as much fun if it wasn't running this, or I feel like every green deck has to have this, whether it's a solid green deck or a green-blue deck like what we're running here with Imperialdramon. Hidden Potential Discovered. It's an insane card. What can we say? When the next time one of your green Digimon try to Digivolve, you can suspend one of your other Digimon to reduce that Digi-Evolution by 5. So, for context, Imperialdramon costs 5 for a Digi-Evolution. So you can literally get this for free, and that's pretty broken, which is great, because sometimes we like when things are pretty busted and they help us kind of turn the tides on a game. But that is the Imperial deck. I hope you've enjoyed this deck profile today. Let me know, share your thoughts in the comments, let me know what you think. And yeah, I guess I'll see you at the next deck profile.